Joined by a special panel. Karuna Gopal, BJP National In Charge, Women Policies and Research, joins us from New Delhi. Also with me, Sanjay Hazarika, perhaps arguably the most renowned expert on the Northeast, a fascinating observer of the Northeast author, joins us there. So thank you for joining us. We also have Sujata Paul, the spokesperson of the Congress, joining us here. First, Mr. Hazarika, I just want to understand, can you just explain to the national audience the consequence and the ZPM story, really? It's another fascinating story, because when you look at candidates, and I was just noticing there was so much focus about Mohammad Azharuddin contesting from Jubilee Hills in Hyderabad, but here you have the All India Footballer of the Year 2016 and a national footballer contesting for the ZPM there in Mizoram. A fascinating story of that party as well.
Thanks a lot, and good morning to everybody. Actually, sports has a very large role in Mizoram, especially after the insurgency and the end of the conflict between New Delhi and the Mizo National Front. Sports became one of the areas through which younger people could find their calling in a way and purpose. And if you look at the Indian team today, there are a number of young players from Mizoram, Manipur, and Nagaland. Sometimes one or two from Meghalaya also. So that is a very major, substantial factor in driving sort of agendas and inspiring people and encouraging them to aspire and so on. That's one. I think the other thing that I would point out is that in Mizoram, we also have a very high turnout. And that doesn't just, it's not just because of the high education and so on, it's just that people are interested in providing a platform for those that they want to see in power. The MNF is suffering from what I would call a double whammy. One is the fact of it being an incumbent, and the incumbent changes every 5 years. But now there is nobody like the Congress which can step in, because the Congress, frankly, doesn't have the leadership it had 5 years ago under Lal Thanhawala, who was the longest-serving chief minister, 25 years. And the ZPM has very adroitly filled that gap by drawing on younger people for its, not just younger people, for its cadres and supporters and candidates, but also showing that there are people there with a known experience of leadership and delivery. So I think these various factors have played a role in what you're seeing today. Although, as Ratnadi pointed out, it's very, very early days.
Right, it's very early days. And as you point out, and I think for
early
those
hours, sorry.
We may have to wait a couple of hours like we have. It may go down to the wire. Who knows how these results play out. At the moment on your screen, sir, 20 leads for the ZPM, that's the Zoram People's Movement, 13 for the Mizo National Front, 6 and BJP. Before I get to our political guests, my one quick question to you. Would you believe then the defining feature of this election is the old guard? Because on the one hand, you have a leader who was underground, part of the rebels at one point of time, who comes out, integrates with the mainstream, balancing act in Zoramthanga between national politics as well as regional pressures. On the other hand, you have the young guard coming up. So is this a battle between the young and the old in Mizoram?
I don't think it's as clear-cut as that. I think it's a shift towards people who they think are more representative of them.
Right.
Because, for instance, one of the major issues in Mizoram is not restricted to the urban areas. In the rural areas, there's a lot of impoverishment and real challenges for farmers. And that has been one of the main things that the ZPM has been driving for the past year. It's been consistent. It's named its candidates months ago before anybody else did. So that has given it an advantage, shall we say.
Interesting points there. We'll keep close track of those results. Of course, right now it's 19 to 14. 19 for the ZPM, 14 for the MNF. We'll have to wait for this to be over till it's over, like in several of the elections, but especially given the small numbers there, the lesser numbers there, it may go down to the wire. We'll keep focusing on that. But Karuna Gopal, ma'am, in terms of the larger national perception, you had an emphatic win in the Hindi heartland yesterday. Southern India seems to be a trouble spot for the BJP. In terms of the larger national perception, the fact that this is coming in the backdrop of the Manipur issue, how important is Mizoram and what would the party be looking at specifically?
Raghav, good morning to you. First of all, looking at Mizoram, I don't think we should look at Mizoram in isolation ever. We have to look at Mizoram as a wholesome northeastern state where in the last few years, most of the states have come our way. We formed governments, and in maybe 2 states we are playing the minority role. But notwithstanding that, we have shown our clout and we are working very closely with the northeastern states. So I'll give you quickly why we believe that we will be a decisive factor in the Mizoram elections is. First of all, the larger picture, as you said, it's not just the Hindi heartland. Our Prime Minister ensured the actual integration of Northeast with the country. He has not just built infrastructure connecting northeastern states among themselves and also with the mainland. He has ensured an emotional bonding. So today, when you go to Northeast, which I travel, and my work takes me there, I find enormous amount of resonance with the national leadership. So Modi ji has gone there 70 to 80 times. He calls all the northeastern states Ashtalakshmis. So all of them have come our way, and I don't see a reason why Mizoram cannot also come our way. Now, the second point is, if you have really observed what we have said in our manifesto, look at the manifesto of INC, Congress, and others. You find they're just again freebies and promises, etc. But our manifesto categorically speaks about capitalizing on the strengths of Mizoram. For instance, just now, Mr. Hazarika also talked about the sports. So we talked about making Mizoram sports capital. Then we are talking about tackling the drugs problem. We are talking about giving infrastructure, both urban and rural. So,
point taken, ma'am. I just want to focus very quickly, ask you this question before I get to the Congress guests. Isn't it a matter of concern that there have been questions raised about Manipur, and now this result could potentially solidify or dispel? I don't know, depending on the results. This would be an important in terms of the perception battle. Isn't there a worry there?
Look, I think the Manipur issue has been used as a bait or whatever for by the Congress. So Congress has used it just to defame us. But my personal feeling is that Mizoram has its own issues, internal issues to deal with, and most of the country today understand that the issue of Manipur has roots far deeper and spread in their own issues, and right. It was the court that announced all this. So BJP is trying to do its own level best to ensure a normalcy, which we are seeing today. So I doubt if coming to the conclusion, I would say that it will have very less impact. Congress may try to...
Okay, let's get the Congress. Sujata Paul.
I found it really amazing that the BJP spokesperson is talking about Congress making an issue about Manipur. The country is making an issue about Manipur because Manipur is an issue. And why did the Prime Minister not visit Mizoram during elections is something that the BJP spokesperson should answer. A lot of people from Manipur had, when all this broke out, they had to move towards Mizoram also. And MNF is not the Congress party. And MNF, the chief minister, spoke about what was happening in Manipur. There were protests happening in Mizoram. So these are questions that these people need to answer. And of course, the BJP national team, when they visit the Northeast, they probably think Northeast is Assam. If you go to Nagaland, you'll see one highway, but you step, onto the left or the right of that highway, and there are no roads. So,
what have you done? What have you done for seven?
Can you not speak in between? Did I speak in between? So the fact is,
I think it's an early morning to have a fight. So you finish speaking, and then, ma'am, you can get on. No, let's keep our tempers safe early in the morning, and then I'll get to Sanjoy as well. But yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Can I just complete?
Sujata, yes. Quickly, so, and then, ma'am.
Yes. So when you go to Nagaland, Manipur, or Mizoram, there are different questions, of course, and each state should be considered individually. Now, you can't look at one particular state in isolation, but you can't look at the entire Northeast as one, because the cultures of each of these states is different, and within the states also, you have so many tribals. For example, in Nagaland, Manipur is different, and again in Mizoram. So Mizoram has its own issues, and the people of Mizoram have been asking the Prime Minister why he doesn't visit Manipur, why he did not visit.
So you've raised the question, Karuna Gopal.
Yeah, I was just. I'm also quite amazed, or perhaps more, that the Congress spokesperson says that nothing has been addressed. But what have they been doing all these years when they had a strong hold on the Northeast? It was, after all, the Congress that held those states captive. What have they done? And they're now they have some minor issues to point out. The major infrastructure development has taken place. More major emotional bonding.
Okay, Sujata, quick word from you before I go to Sanjay Hazarika.
These questions about issues being minor. Let me tell Ms. Gopal that. If you visit these areas, there were roads earlier, and these roads haven't been repaired under the Pradhan Mantri Road Yojana, whatever you've got it. But the fact is that there are issues of Mizoram that need addressing, and the major issue right now is about Manipur. The fact that you have only one seat in the present, assembly, and you're getting that one seat back again, which is in the border. So the fact is that if you look at the vote share also, you will find that BJP is going to get relegated completely. It's completely washed out.
Let's wait for that. Let's wait for that.
Why? Yeah. Whatever, whichever government is in the center, they tend to ally with that, the entire Northeast.
Okay,
so that is something that one needs to look into.
Both of you have made your points. Let me just get Sanjay Hazarika. Sanjay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Manipur is a factor. One can't ignore that, because you do have thousands of people who are displaced from Manipur, who happen to be the Cookies, who are in Mizoram. The figures vary, because I don't think the Mizoram government is actually keeping tabs of how many people are leaving, coming in and then leaving. They've got numbers for people coming in, but not those who are actually going out. So the numbers would be a bit less than what they're saying. So that is a factor. You can't sort of walk away from that. The reasons for that are different, but there is a view in Mizoram that this is a major issue, because they feel these are their kin who've been affected. Now, there's another thing that nobody's spoken about, which is there are 45,000 Chin refugees from Myanmar who have been given refuge in Mizoram, which is an extraordinary act of generosity and benevolence. And these are people who've really suffered, I think, mostly at the hands of the military junta. Villages burnt, houses demolished, crops destroyed, and so on. And they're caught in a civil war, so they have no choice but to come over. And this is about the fifth or sixth time this has happened in the past 30 or 40 years. One needs a bit of a sense of history to understand this issue, because this has been going on for quite some time.
Right, several important...
And I think the last point I want to make, which I want to pick up on what both the BJP and the Congress spokesman said, is that it really, in the long term, what matters in this election, as in many of the elections of the northeastern border states, is that all are committed to the Constitution of India and to the Union of India, which is completely different to what it was 30, 40 years ago. I think that's a very important fact.
That's a fascinating point that you make there. Obviously, there's also that internal politics of Mizoram. We'll have to play that out. Also, serious questions that have been raised. We will continue discussing that during the rest of the day, but then questions raised about the MNF's alliance with the NDA, what the impact is, and of course, the other perception battles that need to be played out. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we'll focus on all the top stories that are there, including the results of the Mizoram elections that's coming out. There you see it on your screen, getting closer than ever. 16 for leads for the ZPM, which is the Zoram People Movement, and 14 for the Mizo National Front. Those numbers shifting and changing all the way around. Congress having 8 leads at the moment.